We are back for another career mode challenge. This time we'll be starting from the bottom in League 2 before bringing Swindon Town back to the Premier League. Of course, this is no normal career mode as we've implemented a ton of extra challenges along the way. So let's get right into it. Here are the buying transfer rules. You can only buy players from the same division or equal league status. We'll take a look at that in a second. You can loan a player from any team in any league, max 3 per season, and each division or tier has an overall cap. So here is the table that we'll be working with. Seeing that we are in League 2, we'll be in Tier 5 with an overall cap of 65, meaning any player we acquire, whether it be by transfer, loan-in, or free agent, their overall has to be 65 or lower at the time of buying. And because we are in Tier 5, the only leagues we can buy players from are the ones listed there. The A-League, the CSL, League 2 our league, the ISL, Eliteserien, and SSE. As we gain promotions, we can buy players from more and more leagues. Other buying transfer rules: you can only make one free agent signing and one pre-contract signing per season, and you can only promote 2 youth academy players per season to the main squad. And now for the tricky part, onto the transfer rules for selling a player. You have to sell a player if a bid comes in from a team in a higher division. So like we saw on that table before, any offer that comes in from a team in Tier 4 or higher, we have to say yes to that bid. And even if you're in Tier 1, we've made it to the Champions League, you have to sell a player if an offer comes in from one of the following teams. If at any point in this career mode, an offer comes in from one of the teams on screen right now, we have to make it work. It just makes it feel more real, because if we were playing at Swindon Town and realistically any one of these teams on screen wanted a player from that team, we'd probably have to sell them. And last thing before we get started is the game settings. So starting with quick settings, as you can see here, transfers are active. Difficulty is on ultimate, as it will stay the entire way through this career mode. And board expectation of no sacking has been one of the best additions to this game. It's something so small, but it's definitely been needed. Over to match, we'll keep it at 5-minute half lengths, 3-minute for the youth tournaments. I don't really play them all that much, but when I do, it's 3 minutes in current overall. I've been enjoying the simulation setting. I feel like since the last update, it's been a little less fun, but I'm going to keep it like that for now. QB sliders, I just leave it tactical. Trainings on, we're leaving the development rate for senior players as normal, and development for the youth players as fast, as an added bonus of not rushing someone to play in the first team. You get a little bonus keeping them in the youth for as long as they'll stay there. Squad, I'm leaving. This is a cool addition. But we'll be leaving it just as is for now with player injuries and match suspensions. We'll just leave it as is. Transfer and scouting. We have got scouting on, search player on, and then we have transfer approaches strict as one extra little challenge for our settings in this career mode. And then general settings, again, no sacking. Financial takeover disabled. We'll be playing with pounds. And that's it. Let's keep it going. Who will be the man to take over this job in this very challenging career mode? The man leading Swindon Town up the charge back to the Premier League. He's returning from Saudi Arabia. It's Steven Gerrard who'll be taking over at Swindon Town. So this is the team that Steven Gerrard will have to work with in Season 1. We've changed up the formation to do a 3-5-2, and we'll be using the pressing style that we use in the FC Magdeburg career mode, because I think that'll do really well down in League 2. The only issue that causes with this team in particular is that we've taken away the use of the left and right backs and replaced them with left and right mids. Where that causes a problem is the fact that this team has 3 left backs and 3 right backs. Now, luckily, a couple of them can be converted to midfield, but hopefully we can sell off the others to make a bit of cash going forward, because that's not something we have a lot of. And a quick shout out to the new overlay. I think it's a nice touch for this career mode to show everyone where we're at in the challenge, what the overall cap is, and all the signings we've made so far. So like I just mentioned, we don't have a lot of money. We have £1 million, but that's for transfer business, hiring coaches, and hiring scouts. So hopefully we'll be able to sell off a few players, because even though I don't think we'll need a scout for this season, and I'll show you why in a second, I have my eye on one player in particular that's almost going to cost us entire budget, but I also want to sign some coaches for the development of the younger players. Taking a look at our youth academy before we go to transfers, this youth academy is absolutely stacked. This presents a problem for Steven Gerrard, as we're only allowed to promote 2 players per season, but at least it's a good problem. There's currently 3 players who are 17 years old, and all probably warrant a call up to the big club right now even. We've got goalkeeper Wilkins, left back Kobinan, and Olsen left mid. I'm going to leave them in the youth academy for as long as possible, and then probably decide in between who I'm keeping between Kobinan and Olsen, with Elijah Wilkins definitely getting the call as soon as he says that he's unsettled, because he's currently our best goalkeeper out of all 4 that we have in our team, senior team or youth academy. So the first signing being brought in is 16-year-old Mason Melia. We were able to get him from St. Patrick's in the Irish League for £520,000. And as you can see there, it's a pretty good rating because his overall value was at 750. So I think this is a very good deal to start things off for Swindon Town. So taking a look at our team tactics, we've changed to the pressing style like I mentioned. It worked wonders in the 2nd division in Germany, so I'm thinking it should have the same effect in the League 2 of England. So I'm hoping that this will bring us success and a promotion in our first season. And to the coach management, we have 2 coaches in attack, 2 in midfield, and 2 in goalkeeping. I'm hoping to see a big increase from our youth academy keeper in Wilkins. And as well in the midfield, we have a ton of players using that 3-5-2, so hope to see that. And hopefully young striker Melia can benefit from the 2 coaches we have in attack. Before we take a look at the upcoming schedule for this season, we had a few players leave the club. Jake Kane and Harrison Minturn were sold for £530,000 and £350,000 respectively, but those sales were on my terms. Unlike Tarek Uwakwe, who was sold to Reading for only $400K because they came in with an offer and they're in a higher league than we are. So there's the first example of the rules coming to bite us. So taking a look at the calendar, we open up the season against Fleetwood. You can also see there a cup tie against Stoke City, that's for the Carabao Cup. There are 3 different cup competitions throughout the season in England if you're playing under the championship. So while the focus is going to definitely be getting promoted to League 1, it'll only be the FA Cup that gets any type of focus from us this season. So having said that, let's get into the first game of the season and jump into the highlights. So off to Fleetwood Town for the first game of the season. It would be our high pressing style that would lead to our first goal, as Fleetwood try to play out from the back, and it would be Melia, the 16-year-old, who picks off the ball and eventually scores by the keeper to make it 1-0 Swindon. Into the second half, it would be much of the same, as the ultimate difficulty keeps trying to play out from the back, but with the players not being as good as Premier League teams or others, it's Melia again who gets the ball and scores his 2nd of the game, giving Steven Gerrard his first win as Swindon Town manager. Next up, we'd have Gilliam at home. And it would be Swindon who get off the board first as the ball's headed down to Melia, and this time he plays in Harry Smith, who scores his first of the season, making it 1-0. In the second half, Gilliam would have a chance to tie this game at 1, but a chance is blown as the shot goes way wide. That would come to cost them, as it would be Harry Smith now who links up with Melia, who gets behind the D, plenty of time, and he scores, making it 2-0 and sealing all 3 points for the home side, as Swindon win 2 in a row. Before getting the transfer deadline day, we had a few games to sim, starting here with an unbelievably crazy result of beating Stoke City away 1-0 with a team that was full of reserves. There was about 5 guys who were playing out of position, and we somehow won the game 1-0. And then we get absolutely thrashed 5-1 at Bradford City with a proper starting 11. So funny how this sim works so far. Now back to that reserve side, getting another win in the Carabao Cup, this time against Notts County when we won 4-2 on penalties. And then finally we had a 2-2 draw at home. Now to deadline day, where our first move of the day would be a loan move for a Chelsea youngster. We'd be turning to Alex Matos, who comes in for a 12-month loan, and he's currently 65 overall rated, and he plays the center mid position. We'd also loan in Alex Murphy from Newcastle for 12 months. He's a left-footed center back, so he'll give us some nice depth there. So Matos and Murphy were the only moves we made coming in on transfer deadline day. We had one player go out in Aaron Drynan, who went on loan to St. Mirren. And as you can see, our overlay has been updated to show that we've used 2 of the 3 loan moves we're allowed to use per season with those 2 new signings. Now taking a look at the team sheet, I had both the new loan signings go right into the starting 11, with Matos grabbing that center mid position and Alex Murphy going to the left side of defense. I did notice something interesting though with Alex Matos, is that he gains 2 overall points if you put him as a center back. So we might make that transition for him, and in the January transfer window, maybe we'll loan in another center mid. But for now, we'll have him stay in the center midfield with Kilkenny and Ofabor. Now taking a look at some upcoming fixtures, we have 4 games in the league and then 1 Carabao Cup game, which we're somehow still involved in after not giving it any focus, only playing our reserves. And we have Ipswich Town coming up next, so I think that's where the luck is going to stop. Over October, another busy month, this time with 6 league games and a Bristol Street Motors competition, which again, we're not going to give any focus. So without any further ado, let's jump back into the highlights. Going through a couple sim results before we get back to the highlights. We lost 2-1 to first place Colchester, then a 2-1 loss to MK Dons at home. We'd end the mini losing streak with a 1-1 draw at Carlisle United. Not the best run of form, but that was 3 games in a row against first, second, and third place team in the table currently. And then of course, wouldn't you know it, the Carabao Cup run continues with yet another penalty win, this time over Premier League side Ipswich. Again, this was done, as you can see who the penalty takers are, very much the second team choice that has us moving on again in the Carabao Cup. Maybe we will need to give this some focus after all. Now we're going to jump back into the gameplay and try to get some much needed wins back in the league. So first up would be Salford City visiting the county ground. The star player for us in the first 15 minutes would be our goalkeeper. There'd be absolutely 2 huge back-to-back saves before the 15-minute mark that would set the stage for what would be to come. And that would be our teenager scoring yet again for us, Melia getting one in the 27th minute. And only 2 minutes later, Swindon come on the attack, and it's going to be Matos playing the ball over to Melias again, who gets his second goal in 2 minutes. Into the second half, it would be more of the same, as the youngster is looking for his hat-trick. Hints of offside here, but the goal will stand, and that's his first career hat-trick for Swindon Town. Salford would get one very late on as Kouassi, who's leading the league in goals right now, collects another one, but that would just be one for the stat sheet, and we'd hold on to win 3-1 with Mason Melia getting the match ball. Next up would be Harrogate Town away. This game would be all about one passage of play, as we look to get the ball in for a headed chance. It's cleared away initially, but it's won by Kilkenny, who's going to start a very nice move here for Swindon Town, as we put together tons of passes, and it's going to be Melia who becomes provider for Harry Smith, who scores, making it 1-0 and giving 3 points to Swindon. Next up would be Chesterfield at home. And it would be the away side that had the first good chance of the game. Within 10 minutes, some nice ball movement in the middle of the field would get their winger in behind our defense with acres of space, but luckily he puts his shot wide. That would prove costly, as just after the half an hour mark, there'd be a turnover from Chesterfield. The ball gets to Melia, and he somehow squares this ball for Shimanga, who scores and makes it 1-0, giving us back-to-back 1-0 wins. After that, it would be a trip to Walsall that would see Swindon be dominated, honestly, in this game, and there'd be another chance for us to go behind 1-0 early on, as there's gaps in our defense, and this time their striker goes for the dink, but luckily it goes wide again. And like I said, Walsall did dominate most of this game, and 3 points would be coming our way, and it would be an absolute gift. I've never seen anything like this. A terrible rollout from the keeper goes right to Harry Smith, who scores, giving Swindon yet another win. Lastly, it'd be a game against Crewe at the county ground, and this would be a much different story, as we would deserve all 3 points in this game. First, starting off with Shimanga being played in, he is taken out from behind. Debatable red card offense, but it was only seen as a yellow by the referee, but it's still a penalty. And it's the captain, Will Wright, who steps up and scores his first goal of the season, making it 1-0. Right before the half, Swindon would be on the attack again. It'd be Harry Smith who's going to lay the ball off to Kilkenny, and he puts this ball right in the top corner, getting his first of the season, and that makes it 2-0. And just to add a bit of uncertainty, the ball we played into Melia again somehow stays onside. He scores, making it 3-0. And this is a clean sweep for Swindon in these highlights, as it's another 3 points. Now let's check out some other results. Jumping back into the Sims, we had a 2-1 loss to Rotterdam in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy Tournament. We then had a 1-0 win away at Tranmere Rovers, a thrilling 3-2 win at home against Barrow. The Carabao Cup run is finally over after a 3-2 loss to Luton Town. We followed that up with a 0-0 draw against Port Vale. Then we'd suffer a 4-2 loss to Barnsley, but it was the Bristol Street Motors, so that's fine. Back over to League 2, we'd get our second 0-0 draw in a row. We then get a much needed 2-0 win against Newport County at home. Switching over to the cup that I actually want to give some attention to, the FA Cup, where we'd tie 1-1 to Carlisle United but win 4-1 on penalties. We then draw 2-2 at Morecambe, a big 2-1 win against Wimbledon at home, then another 3 points on the road with a 1-0 win at Accrington, make it 3 wins in a row as we pick up a 3-1 win against Bromley at home, a big win against 4th place Notts County away 2-1, winning streak over as McGurk would pick up a red card and we draw 1-1, and finally we beat Salford City 1-0 on the road. This gets us to January 1st and opens up the transfer window. So the first half of the season has gone pretty well for us. We'll take a look at that in a second. This is probably the only negative so far, as we had our first youth player terminate their contract in Aiden Smart. He was probably our 5th best prospect in terms of team need and current overall, so hopefully it won't be that big of a miss. Taking a look at the league table, we currently sit in first place after 24 games. We're currently tied on points with MK Dons, and we're currently 7 points clear of those automatic promotion spots. Jumping over to take a look at some of the stats so far this season, it's the 17-year-old Mason Melia who leads the way with 12 goals and 4 assists. He leads the team in both those categories so far. We've also had nice contributions from Shimanga and Smith, who both have 9 goals, and Alex Matos chipped in as well with 6 goals and 4 assists so far. Taking a look at our youth academy now, we do seem to have a little bit of an issue here. We have 4 players now who are 16 years or older, so at any point in time we could get that email like we got from Aiden Smart saying they're terminating their contract. I'm leaning heavily to promoting Elijah Wilkins to the first team, seeing that he's already rated 65 overall. His potential is only 77 to 83, but for a League 2, League 1, even Championship side, that's a pretty good overall. And our current best keeper with the big club has an overall of 62. Whereas with the other 3, Kobinan, Kaku, and Olsen, Kobinan and Olsen are very even when it comes to potential and overall, except what hurts Kobinan is we don't have a left back and Olsen is way more attacking focused. And then there's the wild card of Boubacar Kaku, who's 16 years old, he's 62 overall rated, and he's 6'6" and a left-footed center back. So I'm not going to make any choices now, we'll save these tough decisions for the next episode. We have seen some really good growth in this team already, with Cox and Kilkenny up to 67 overall rated, Melly is at 63 already, which is nice to see. Matos and Ofabor are at 66 overall rated, really solidifying that midfield, and I think we have a lot to work with going forward. So this is where we're going to end it on this first episode. If you haven't already, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, it helps out so much. Please leave a comment down below of some career mode gems you've used in your own saves so I can look for them and try to add them into this career mode at some point. The next episode of this series will be dropping Monday morning at 9 AM, and as always guys, thanks for watching.